That was the day everything changed. I can still remember the bluish glow of the screen on my face at 3 in the morning, in an open-plan office that smelled of cold coffee and polite desperation. I was the head of viral content for a trendy startup. My job? To make noise. Memes, short videos, posts that were supposed to go viral for an app whose purpose nobody really understood. I was selling hot air, and I was starting to choke on it. All around me on social media, that's all I saw: entrepreneurs on private jets, coaches in front of whiteboards covered in arrows, influencers selling courses on how to become an influencer. And there I was, in the middle of this circus, broke, exhausted, and feeling like the biggest imposter on the planet. I was chasing a success that was like a firework, bright, loud, but empty and fleeting. That night, I hit rock bottom. In a fit of desperate procrastination, I started surfing aimlessly, clicking on increasingly obscure links, straying from the information superhighways to wander down the backroads of the old internet. That's how I stumbled upon a forum. A forum with a design straight out of the 2000s, no images, just gray text on a white background. The topic? The preservation of municipal archives in the Centre-Val de Loire region of France. I laughed, alone in the silence of the office. It was the least sexy place on the entire internet. And yet, I stayed. Amidst the discussions about the quality of 19th century paper and the best digitization techniques, one username kept popping up, Mark_72. His posts were models of clarity, of surgical precision. No emojis, no fluff. Just pure expertise. Driven by an impulse I still can't explain, I sent him a private message. A long, rambling message, where I poured everything out about my job, about this race for buzz that was slowly killing me, about my feelings of uselessness. I expected to be ignored. But 20 minutes later, a reply appeared. It was short. Noise feeds no one. Value does. What value are you talking about in your work? That simple question was a wake-up call. And that is how my real education began. In this video, I'm not going to give you a list of tips. I'm going to tell you how that man, through our conversations, revealed to me the 3 most boring online businesses I had ever heard of, and yet, they are absolute gold mines, precisely because 99% of people, obsessed with what's sexy, will never even look at them. The first chapter of my story could be called The Glamour Trap. Before I met Mark, my definition of success was dictated by my newsfeed. I believed you needed an audience of millions to make it. I spent my days analyzing vanity metrics, likes, shares, engagement rates. We would celebrate a video hitting 100,000 views as a victory, even if it didn't bring in a single dollar and was forgotten the next day. We were attention junkies. We would spend hours in meetings debating the color of a button or the music for a 15-second video. Meanwhile, my personal finances were in the red. I was living in a tiny studio, eating pasta for half the month, but on my LinkedIn profile, I was a digital guru. This dissonance between the image I projected and my reality was eating me up inside. I felt like an actor in a play that never ended. The worst part is, I believed my own lie. I told myself that if I just worked harder, if I found the next trend, then finally, real success, the kind that pays the bills, would arrive. I was convinced that the path to financial freedom was paved with hacks, growth strategies, and personal branding. I was searching for the ultimate shortcut, the magic formula that would propel me into the spotlight. I didn't understand that I was running in the wrong direction, on a treadmill that was exhausting me without moving me a single inch forward. It was in this state that my conversation with Mark began. After his first piercing question, I tried to defend my work. I talked about brand awareness, about community. He replied with infinite patience but with unshakable logic. He didn't judge, he questioned. A community that doesn't pay is a fan club. It's nice, but it doesn't pay the bills, he wrote. Over our discussions, which stretched over several weeks, I began to trust him. He wasn't trying to get anything, wasn't selling anything. He just seemed wise. One day, I asked him what he did for a living, assuming he was a retired librarian or a history buff. His answer was the first domino to fall. He told me, my first business, I started it at 58 after being laid off. I digitize archives. I thought it was a joke. Digitizing archives? It was the very definition of boring. Spending entire days scanning old, dusty papers. I couldn't imagine anything more tedious. I told him, with all the arrogance of my youth, but there's nothing viral about that. No one is going to like a photo of a registry from 1890. His reply is one I printed out and still keep on my desk today. You're right. No one will like it. But the city halls, the libraries, the museums, and the genealogy firms, they will pay for it. They pay to preserve their memory, to comply with the law, to make their collections accessible. I don't sell likes. I sell security, permanence, and peace of mind. And that, my boy, is worth far more than 1 million views. That was the first revelation. Boring business number 1, high value, low visibility niche services. Mark explained his model. He didn't have a flashy website or an Instagram account. His marketing? Word of mouth and impeccable responses to public tenders. His clients? Institutions with annual budgets, not volatile consumers. The work was meticulous, repetitive, and demanded absolute rigor. It was the antithesis of my world. He wasn't trying to attract a crowd. He only needed a few big contracts a year to generate a very comfortable income. He had understood something fundamental that I had missed. It is 100 times easier to sell a $10,000 service to an organization that needs it than to sell a $10 product to 1,000 people you first have to convince. While I was fighting for a few seconds of attention in an ocean of noise, he was building a silent fortress. He wasn't dependent on any algorithm, on any trend. His business was based on a real, deep, and boring need. Nobody dreams of becoming an archive digitizer. And that's precisely why the field was wide open. There was no fierce competition, no gurus selling courses on the topic. Just a concrete problem to solve for clients willing to pay for the solution. I started to see the world differently. But the craziest part was yet to come. Because that was only his first venture. A few weeks later, as my startup was beginning to show serious signs of weakness, I asked Mark if he had any other secrets. I was still skeptical, but a seed had been planted in my mind. He then told me about his second business. And if I thought the first one was boring, I was not ready for this. Mark ran a newsletter. I thought, finally something I know. I pictured those creator newsletters, full of personal stories and affiliate links. I was miles from the truth. His newsletter, he explained, was a weekly summary of changes in customs regulations for the import of industrial hydraulic components from Asia. I had to read his sentence 3 times. It was so specific, so technical, so dry. Who on earth would read that? His answer was the second shock. My readers are the logistics directors of large industrial companies. I have about 400 of them. I did some quick math. 400, that's nothing, I thought. But then he added, the subscription is $990 a year. I almost fell out of my chair. 400 people were paying nearly $1,000 a year to read an email about hydraulic component regulations. Boring business number 2, high-value niche information for professionals. Mark explained the logic, and it was brilliant. For a company that imports millions of dollars worth of equipment, missing a single regulatory update can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines or customs delays. My $990 subscription isn't an expense, it's an insurance policy. It's a tiny investment to avoid a potentially colossal loss. I spend my week sifting through mind-numbing official documents, and I serve them a digestible and directly actionable summary. I sell them time and peace of mind. Once again, the same logic. He wasn't looking for millions of free subscribers. He had found a pain point so specific and so costly for a small audience that the price became a non-issue. He didn't need to advertise. His clients came to him by reputation, within the very closed circles of their industry. While I was trying to please everyone, he had chosen to be indispensable to a select few. And that changed everything. The breaking point came on a Tuesday morning. A terse email summoned us to an all-hands emergency meeting. The verdict came down: the startup had run out of money. The entire team was being laid off. Within an hour, I had packed my few belongings in a cardboard box. My head of viral content title suddenly seemed ridiculous. The buzz had evaporated, and so had I. I was devastated. I felt like I had wasted years of my life chasing ghosts. My first instinct was to write to Mark. I told him the news, expecting pity. He didn't offer any. He replied, "Perfect. Now the real work can begin." The next day, he told me about his third business. This one was different. He didn't run it directly but invested in and advised several small companies. Boring business number 3, creating technical documentation and user manuals. He explained, the world is getting more and more complex. Software, machines, devices, everything is becoming more complicated. But humans still need simple instructions. Most engineers hate writing documentation. They find it boring. They want to build, not explain. This is a huge friction point for thousands of companies. He told me that a good user manual could cut a company's customer service costs in half. A good tutorial could be the difference between a customer adopting a piece of software and one asking for a refund. It was a universal, constant need, and completely overlooked by people seeking glory. And then he added the sentence that changed my life: a small industrial software company I work with needs to redo their entire online help manual. It's tedious and low-paying work to start, but it's a foot in the door. Are you interested? I hesitated. Me, the viral content creator, writing instruction manuals? My ego took a hit. But I had nothing to lose. I said yes. That first contract was the hardest and most boring job of my life. I spent weeks dissecting a dry piece of software, interviewing engineers who spoke to me in incomprehensible jargon, and turning it all into clear, simple steps with screenshots. It was the exact opposite of what I used to do. It wasn't creative, it wasn't fun. But for the first time in years, at the end of the day, I felt like I had created something useful. That I had brought clarity where there was confusion. When I delivered the final project, the company's director called me. He didn't tell me my work was awesome or inspiring. He said, "It's clear. Our customers will finally understand how to use this feature. Thank you." That simple word, thank you, carried more weight than all the likes I had ever accumulated in my career. I had solved a real problem. That first contract led to a second, then a third. I started my own small agency. Today, I'm not on a yacht. I'm not on the cover of magazines. But I pay my bills without anxiety. I choose my clients. And most importantly, I sleep at night. My job is to make the complex simple. My clients are companies that sell complicated products and services. Nobody talks about what I do at trendy parties. And that's just fine. I learned Mark's lesson. True freedom isn't found in the spotlight, but in the shadows, where the boring but essential problems hide. Digitizing archives, niche professional newsletters, technical documentation, these 3 examples are just the tip of the iceberg. Their common thread? They are invisible, they generate no buzz, but they solve deep, well-funded needs. They are built on skill and reliability, not on popularity. So if you're like I was, tired of chasing the wind, of comparing yourself to cardboard cutout successes, I invite you to look elsewhere. Look towards the boring. Look towards the complicated. Ask yourself what problems no one wants to solve. It's often there, in the dust and the complexity, that the real treasures are found. Comment go if you want to launch your business. Don't forget to subscribe.